Good morning, everyone. The last lecture was on Jajmani system. In Jajmani system, we have discussed about the concept, meaning, etymological meaning of Jajmani system, advantages, disadvantages, and sociological theories that studies Jajmani system. So now we will move to the next topic, three itself, and the topic is division of labor. So if you look at division of labor as a concept, this concept is totally related with economic system. So in fact, division of labor, it's a separation of task in any economic system so that participants may specialize or specialization. Societies, communities, associations, organizations, individuals, and nations, states are endowed with or acquired specialized capabilities and either form combinations or try to take advantage of the capabilities of other in addition to their own. So basically, division of labor means we're talking about dividing the work. For example, we are going to organize a national conference. How to make that conference successful? So we need different people, and different work will be assigned to different people related to the particular conference. So there can be different tasks to handle in that particular conference. So each worker has specialized or specific task. So to complete that task, we are making some plans first on the basis of people abilities and capabilities and potential. We are assigning them different responsibilities to deliver. So in simple terms, to complete a particular task, we assign different tasks to different members. That is all about division of labor. Division of labor, you can relate with any social institution. Labor doesn't mean that we are talking about uh, economic system only or economic institution. If you look at or if you understand your family also rests on division of labor. The father has certain works, you have certain responsibilities. Just try to understand the concept of family in the Indian society. So father is giving you money, but it can be different from one household to another. So all these things depends upon of various factors, various socio cultural, religious, political factors. So division of labor can be different in different contexts. It can be different from one household to another. But if you look at the concept of family, the notions of family means there is father, mother, offsprings or children. So each member has a very separate, a very different uh, responsibility. But in some cases, one member handles all the works. It depends on case to case. So division of labor in simple means we are dividing work, and this dividing doesn't mean that we are doing it in a formal way. It can be in informal way also. Everything is and people are aware about all these social facts. So when I'm talking about social fact, it means I'm talking about everything external. So we are aware about our own responsibilities. So that is all about how to understand division of labor. So now, first thing that is very important. First, we should understand, or we should understand who uh, is Amal Durkheim, and what are the different theories of Amal Durkheim. So Amal Durkheim is considered as the professional father of sociology, and the concept of division of labor has been discussed in detail by Amal Durkheim in sociology. He was born on 1858 and died on 1917. So he was one of the most important pioneers in the field of sociology, and he's recognized as one of the greatest social thinker and academic sociologist of France. So he has developed sociological concepts, methodology, theories, and so on. and he graduated from University of Bordeaux, and then he completed several major sociological work, including Division of Labor, uh, the rules of sociological method, the theory of suicide. And in 1893, he published his French doctoral thesis, The Division of Labor in Society. His methodological work, The Rules of Sociological Method, was published in 1895. So that work is considered as very important, The Rules of Sociological Method. And in most of the lectures, offline, online, classroom lecture, I have suggested you to read The Rules of Sociological Method. So the books I'm recommending you, please take it seriously, because these kinds of books are very important, and this is the right time to understand, to go through these books. So his methodological work, The Rules of Social Method, was published in 1895, followed by his empirical application of those methods in the study Suicide in 1897, another book. The other of his most famous works, The Elementary Forms of Religious Life, was published in 1912, and by the time of his death at the age of 59, he had produced a large body of scholarly work and founded one of the most coherent sociological perspective of the 19th century. He is best known for founding sociology as a scientific discipline and for defining the boundaries of its subject matter. Durkheim had a profound influence not only in the development of sociology but anthropology, history, linguistics, and psychology. So these all disciplines you can uh, relate with Durkheimian literature. In fact, much of his impact on other fields came through the journal Liani Sociologique, that's a very French term, which he founded in 1898. An intellectual circle arose around the journal with Durkheim at its center. The central theme of Durkheim was based on the view that individual autonomy grows only at the expense of the collective forces of society. The core Durkheim's approach is termed as sociological realism, and Durkheim also believed that the new science of society must be studied like or sociology must be studied and interpreted on the basis of natural sciences, method and approach. So please remember, Durkheim was very much concerned with natural sciences. So in his theory, he has tried to use the scientific methodology, and his theories are considered as one of the most important theories in sociology, and these theories are based on scientific and temperament. So his major sociological work are first Division of Labor and Society 1893 published, The Rules of Sociological Method published in 1895, number 3 Suicide as Study in Sociology 1897, and the fourth book, The Elementary Forms of Religious Life, published in 1912, Primitive Classification published in the year 1903, and On Institutional Analysis published in the 1978. You can go through these books and you can understand. But the most important books of Emile Durkheim are Division of Labor, Rules of Social Method. Suicide is also considered important because you're dealing with law, and this book will help you to understand how society is a social fact. The Elementary Forms of Religious Life will help you to understand about the religious rituals, the beliefs, various beliefs that we have. What is the meaning of sacred? What is the meaning of profane? So this was all about Durkheim. So Durkheim is considered as one of the most scientific thinker in sociology. So that you should understand. His work on the rules of sociological method is considered as one of the most important work. And Durkheim has defined sociology as a science of social fact. Social facts and events are the fundamental basis of his sociological thought. It is one of the strengths of these social facts that Durkheim has tried to show that sociology is not merely a theoretic discipline, but is intimately connected with the practical facts of life. According to Durkheim, sociology is a study of social fact. It is a science of social facts. Its purpose is to know the causes and consequences of every social fact. In place of purpose and aim, Durkheim prefers to use the term function. This is because the word function is morally neutral, whereas the word aim and purpose just good or favorable consequences. The resultant consequences of social facts may or may not be favorable, and these can be even dangerous. The facts are spontaneous and do not depend upon human wishes and desires. Durkheim has described two fundamental features of social facts, namely um, exteriority and constraint. So external and constraint. These features are not the product of human mind, but are objective things. These were born in communal consequences, or communal consciousness, which is a part of the individual thinking. We cannot observe them, but we can feel their impact. We all are circulated by these social effects, or affected by these social effects. They are more effective than the effects of individual consciousness. So that is all about Durkheim, how Durkheim he has studied about what are the different social effects. So the concept of division of labor, this is also one of the most important concept that he has discussed in sociology. And if you look at division of labor in sociology, Emile Durkheim's theory are considered as one of the most important thinker. So according to Durkheim, division of labor is not to be regarded as a mere luxury, desirable perhaps, but not indispensable to society. It is rather a condition of its very existence. It is that which assures the solidarity of the groups. It determines the essential traits of their constitution. It follows that if such is really the function of the division of labor, it may be expected to have a moral character, because the needs of order, of harmony, of social solidarity generally are what one understands by moral needs. So social life is derived from double source. Number one, from similarity of minds. Number two, from the division of labor. So you have to remember that how he has defined division of labor in sociology, and that I will discuss. So this you can go to the picture. If you look at, this is all about how people are handling different activities during a marriage function. So if you look at make the bed, take the rubbish out, do the shopping, do the ironing, do the washing up, make dinner. So these are all different division of labor to complete a particular task. So that you have to remember what is division of labor. Now come to the concept social solidarity. This is also one of the most important concept discussed in Emile Durkheim sociology. And in most of the classes, I have discussed this particular concept with you. So solidarity means the solidarity of the organization. Social solidarity is the characteristics trait of a society. The concept of social solidarity was presented by Emile Durkheim in his doctoral dissertation, A Division of Labor in Society. This was the first published book of Emile Durkheim. It was published in 1893. Emile Durkheim's Division of Labor is a classic of intellectual analysis. The most remarkable effect of the division of labor is not that it um, accentuates the distinction of functions already divided, but that it makes them interdependent. Its role in every case is not simply to embellish and perfect existing societies, but to make possible societies which without it would not exist. Should the division of labor between the sexes be diminished beyond a certain point, the family would cease to exist, and only so ephemeral sexual relations would remain. It is possible that the economic utility of the division of labor has a factor is producing the existing form of conjugal society. So please remember, in division of labor, you have to remember collective consciousness. You have to remember social solidarity, like homogeneous or heterogeneous. So discuss about that also. How we are united. When we are using the word social solidarity, how we are united. So now we are facing COVID-19. So how people are united in isolation. So that you have to keep in mind in different context or in different situations. Um, we unite to face certain challenges. There can be cultural, religious, biological, political, economic, or any other challenges. So that you have to remember what is the meaning of social solidarity. Now come to the meaning of types of division of labor. So this is also one of the most important concept. So before coming to division of labor, so this is all about social solidarity discussed by Malvirkan. Social solidarity is the degree or type of integration. We talk about integration in a society, the feeling that we are in this together. So just imagine and just understand different situations. So now move to the next slide. Types of division of labor. The Division of Labor Society was Durkheimian first major theoretical work. It was written during 1880s as a part of the doctoral requirement and was later published as a complete study in 1893. Durkheim's central question related to it is why do individuals, while becoming more autonomous, depend more upon society? How can they be at once more individual and solidarity? Durkheim's main focus in the Division of Labor is on social solidarity. Social solidarity is a condition within the group in which there is a social cohesion and cooperation, and the collective action is directed towards the achievement of group goals, and in which social organization is shown by permanency. These conditions are changeable according to the social condition. Due to this reason, Durkheim proposes two types of solidarity: mechanical, organic. Remember, mechanical, and next one is organic. So that you have to remember two solidarity. Number one is societies whose solidarity is mechanical are based on common roots of identity, similarity, undifferentiated social structure, and little or no division of labor. In these societies, the individual is directly linked to society through various points of attachment, which acts to or act to bind all the members of the group together equally. The force of these social links is such as to discourage individual autonomy, and the social whole envelops the individual so completely that there is no distinction between individual conscience and the collective conscience. Mechanical solidarity can be characterized by segments or segmental social structure that has a relatively low volume or moral or material density. This means that interactions takes place among limited people or volume. It also means that the number of times people interact is also limited in mechanical or density. The fundamental criteria of mechanical solidarity is collective consciousness, homogeneity or homogeneous culture, or homogeneity of experience leads to the collective consciousness or collective conscience, and gives rise to common belief and practices. Durkheim has defined it in the following ways: the totality of beliefs and sentiments common to average citizens of the same social forms or determinate system, which has its own life. One may call it the collective or a common conscience. In brief, societies of this type are characterized by number one, homogeneous population. Division of labor is based on social cooperation. Now we talk about mechanical only. A system of social institution in which religion is dominant. Number four, a system of beliefs which is uniformly diffused throughout the society, creating uniformity and attitude actions. Number five, a low degree of individual autonomy. Number six, a social organization in which the individual's place in society is determined by kinship. Number seven, a system of penal law based on repressive sanctions, which punishes or punish individuals transgressions swiftly and violently, serving the function of reaffirming core beliefs and values. Means repressive sanctions are there. A system of social cohesion which produces a high degree of consistency in values and beliefs and individual attitudes and actions. A state in which individualism is at its lowest point of development. A system of social links between individuals based on custom, obligation, sentiment. So remember, the next one is organic solidarity. So, in contrast to mechanical solidarity, the other form of social solidarity, as Durkheim refers, is organic solidarity. So, solidarity in industrial modern society is based not on uniformity but on differences. Is terms of organic solidarity. In societies whose solidarity is organic, labor, especially as an individual, are linked more to each other than they are to society as a whole. The nature of these links, Durkheim reasons, stems from the development of the division of labor, where individuals become more reliant on the other to perform separate economic functions, which they are not able to carry out themselves. So we are talking about interdependence in organic solidarity. In this respect, a society is an arrangement of different and specific functions which are linked mutually by social bonds. In this cooperation or conception, the differences among the individuals are visible to the extent that everybody has his specific field of activities and confines himself or herself to that area only. In addition, advancement of society through progressive development in the division of labor leads to a decline in the intensity and uh, determinates of collective states. The content of collective consciousness gradually becomes human oriented. So in organic, we're talking more about individualism, secular and rational. These social conditions start weakening the values of collective curiosity from the society. So this is all about how mechanical solidarity pre-modern when collective consciousness is there. Uh, uh, Collective consciousness you can understand and feel, but it's about organic solidarity means there is interdependence. So you can find different people, but they're dependent on each other. This is about homogeneous. This is about heterogeneous. This is about pre-modern, this is about modern. In modern, we are talking about individuals or more about individualism as compared to collective representation when it comes to mechanical solidarity. Solidarity is about how we are united. It's about integration. So there are some differences between the two, mechanical organic. Mechanical solidarity, we're talking about primitive society. Organic is modern now, today's society. Based on resemblance means there is homogeneous culture, but dividing means there is heterogeneous. Minimal division of labor based on sex and age. Based on division of labor means there is specialization, there are no specialization, there is a just differentiation, social differentiation. But here you can make social stratification, strata, on the basis of various division of labor. It can be on economic basis, but here is only they're dividing on the sex and age. Little interdependence between social and little, but there is interdependence between social and consensus. So people are trying to become more interdependent. They believe in individualism. They promote trying to promote individualism. So here you can find less interdependence. There is you can say that dependent on each other, and there you can say that there interdependence means more promoting more individualism in organic and promoting more collective consciousness in 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 uh, mechanical. Now come to the last slide of this lecture: main causes of division of labor. So what you have to remember this lecture: number one, you have to remember Durkheim. Number two, Durkheim concept division of labor. Number three is what is social solidarity. Number four, what are the different types of division of labor. So the main causes of division of labor, according to Durkheim, is the transition from segmental to advanced society is central to the development of division of labor. Means I was talking about mechanical to organic. Durkheim believed that the division of labor begins when the social, economic, and political boundaries dividing segments begin the breakdown and segments come together. As the segments become more and more uh, permeable, they become less resistant to change, and this creates movement between the parts of the social masses or social mass. Instead of social life being dispersed over separate segments, it becomes more consolidated and localized, and this tends to increase the moral density of society. Hence, division of labor arises as a result of increased material and moral density in society. By material density, this means the sheer increase in the number of individuals in society and rewards population growth. By moral density, he means the increased interaction that results between individuals as a consequence of growth in numbers. Durkheim tried to explain three primary causes of the division of labor. Firstly, the change in the geographical promiscuity of individual, that population begins to concentrate themselves in more confined areas instead of being spread over larger territories. So this I'm talking about main cause of division of labor. So if you look at Durkheim, he was also talking about abnormal form of division of labor. And what he was talking about abnormal form of division of labor, Durkheim focused on the questions of abnormal or pathological form of division of labor. The term pathology, pathological form division of labor, the term pathology derives from the biological sciences and is primarily used to indicate the occurrence of diseases in an organism. Durkheim believed that the social body, like the human body, can become diseased and and can be referred to this state as a form of social pathology are more commonly abnormal forms. So that you have to remember when you have to discuss about uh, division of labor. In the third volume of Division of Labor, Durkheim categorized uh, three abnormal forms of division of labor, which are found in advanced society. These are anomic division of labor, number two, forced division of labor, and third, the poor coordination of function resulting from the division of labor itself. Number one is an anomic form of division of labor. So Durkheim believed that this type of division of labor arises because of industrial and commercial crisis. Anomic division of labor means normlessness, sudden loss. These occurs, wrote Durkheim, when social functions are not adjusted to each other. So what is forced division of labor? This type of division of labor arises of external inequality that uh, fails to produce the natural demands of society. Thus, people might be allocated to positions in the division of labor to which they are not suited by their natural talents or their abilities. Such as abnormal form results in individual becoming frustrated and unhappy with uh, their society. As a consequence, division of labor no longer meets the social needs of cohesion, but rather serves the interest of certain social groups. Indian caste system is one of the example of forced division of labor. So that you can discuss in number two, forced division of labor. Number three is the poor coordination of functions resulting from the division of labor. So number three is number three is a managerial deficiency where the enterprise is not organized to get the best and most out of its members. The more continuous and coordinated the various functions, the more solidarity grows and the more skilled the worker becomes. So in brief, division of labor um, discussed by by Durkheim brings out his functional model of society. Durkheim sees division of labor as a process that would help individual coexist and cooperate to each other. In a normal situation, division of labor contributes to the social integration by giving each individual a specialized activity to perform. Division of labor arises as a result of the competition for survival brought about by growing material and moral density. Specialization offers a way whereby various individuals may coexist and cooperate. Durkheim does not merely look at the economic aspect of division of labor, but rather its social aspect, its contribution to social integration. And dear students, what you have to remember: number one, you have to remember what is the concept of division of labor, and then you have to discuss about Emile Durkheim's contribution to division of labor, how Emile Durkheim has discussed about division of labor. Please go through the lecture carefully and please listen it more carefully. I will share with you a study material also. Then you have to discuss about types of division of labor. Mechanical, organic. Mechanical means we are talking about traditional society, and in traditional society we are focusing more on homogeneous culture. Our focus remains on homogeneous culture, and where there is community relations, and where people are understanding each other very well. These relations are dominated by religion, where there are repressive laws. But when it comes to organic solidarity, we're talking about more individualism as compared to collective representation. So people are promoting more individualism when it comes to organ solidarity in different capacities. So we are involved in organ solidarity in different organizations where people are working for a particular task, but they have been assigned different responsibilities to handle. So they can be for example, when it comes to organ solidarity, we're talking about restitutive law, means we're talking about a very liberal law. So if you look at contemporary Indian legal system, it's a very liberal system. So if you go through constitution, if you go through your uh, different legal system, you'll find that laws are very liberal as compared to the earlier one. Earlier, laws were very harsh, not only in India but across the world. But in some countries, you can find still the law and the legal system is very harsh when it comes to our countries. So, main cause of division of labor, you have to discuss about economy, and then discuss about the post division of labor, and then poor coordination functions resulting from the division of labor itself. So this was all about division of labor. Now I will stop here, and I request each one of you, please go through the lecture. Please go through study material, PPT, and books and article that I will share with you. And if there will be any query, you can ask me through mail or you can contact me. So thank you so much.